to back up that talk that they're stating in Messenger, to me, it's better for you to take the completely opposite approach. Not be the guy that tries to sell them on fancy words and have perfect copy. Not be the guy that has a perfect outreach message that captures their attention and makes them want to work with you right away. But being the guy that knows that your opportunities will come through you building genuine relationships with these people, them seeing your care for their business, your experience of the industry, and your knowledge that you have now, and seeing that they want to tap into that to get your help. So it's easy for us to get stuck kind of in a mode where like we're thinking, man, we got to have this offer perfect. We got to have the promise perfect. We got to have the opening message spot on, capturing attention, doing all these things. But I want to remind you that forward movement and starting to actually build relationships with people in this market is going to be all of those things for you. And doing like what you did this week of offering that call to offer some insight and some help to that person, that's already a first step in that direction. You made them a personal loom. You went out of your way in your time to do that for them, to help them, knowing that you're really working to build a relationship, started to plant the seed and build some goodwill first.
Yeah, no, I just thought, I mean, it's zero expectations, not expecting anything from anybody. Just do it because I'm just thinking of the more I do it, the easier it's going to get, or the more confident I would say easier, the more confident I'm going to get. I just, um, I think that is, yeah, that is, it's just about the experience and repeating, doing it and just doing it.
Yeah, and building that trust up through that personal touch and that relationship based approach. Because like you mentioned from the start of today's call, if that trust is there, everything else after it comes easier.
Exactly.
The
Yeah,
sales
exactly.
opportunity, them being open to listening what we have to say, everything else flows after that trust is established. But if we try to do the other things before the trust, that opportunity may not be around the next day. Could be just dead and gone.
Yep, that's true. Because in the past, I think all the listings I got pre 6FA was through the KLT, the No Like Trust. People liked what I did, and then and that's how I got my leads, my sales leads.
Yeah, and that know, like, and trust can be built through, like you mentioned here, with one of your competitive advantages being video. Like you're confident in your ability to make videos. You've done a lot of these videos before. You put in a lot of reps and practicing doing this. And this is a massive piece in terms of something that fuels your process to nurturing and building trust with leads.
You know what? I
But
just go ahead.
I think that's only amplified further through our direct conversations with people. And I just want to remind you of the fact that like the more that we can prioritize and focus on that, although it may mean we have a little bit more back and forth in the messenger combo, and it may be a little bit more work for us to make that personal loom or to send that audio message to them. All those things are helping us in the beginning stages of our business and our offer stand out and separate ourselves from all the big dogs that are just making promises and claims.
You know what? I've been thinking of from when I was sending out the poll to I thought about and thought about recording a loom for every single one of those people. If I send 20 out, make 20 looms and check it out. Okay, so talking and doing is two different things. Maybe I should just I should do this. I'm gonna make looms for the next people I'm sending out the poll. I'm just gonna record a profile review. Maybe I should just record a profile review or ask them in a video this, what do they think in the top three, and see how much if I get a better response um, from if people respond better to a personal message that doesn't feel like it's for the masses, that is
Yeah,
genuine.
or even taking it one step before that and think about how can we just connect with them on a human level first.
Yes.
If you think about like human connection in general and what brings humans together, what is that one thing that brings humans together? To me, it's shared interest.
Shit.
If there's a shared interest involved, it immediately takes you from if you just met that person and feeling separated, like you have no clue who they are, But let's say you love golf, I love golf, and we find that out in the first message. Now we're already jiving that much more.
Exactly. You can start talking to a stranger at the airport, whatever, and you find out you've got a mutual interest, and before you know it, you're exchanging phone numbers, something like
Yep,
that.
exactly right. And this is just to second this too. Like this is definitely not me saying all of our conversations should be about hobbies, golf, sports, things that we're doing, and just like small talking, having conversation on that. But just think about how you can use these to capture their attention and break the ice in that way. Because I guarantee if you take 5 minutes to look into their profile before, there's a specific question that you can ask them about what they're doing in real estate or what they do personally or what they did from their content that could immediately equal them responding and connection being built without having to be talking about that for a ton.
I must say,
But it just takes us looking for more.
yeah, I mean, what I find what I personally what I think is if a person if I get random messages on Messenger, I respond to a person that's had a look at my profile that makes a something about my profile. Um, it 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 just feels to me that person has just gone just one step further than the usual 50 other guys.
When they've looked at you say when they looked at your profile?
When they looked at the profile, yes. When they looked at the profile, so they could look at the profile, send a message about something that's on my profile. Um,
100%.
that's just more. Uh,
Or ask them a question about it
yeah,
too. It could be
yeah.
even pointing out a compliment, a question, a query related to it. Like it's just showing them that you did your due diligence to the point where you looked in to what they're doing and you had enough interest and care and you took time out of your day to do that to ask them that question. Not just you picked a random name and sprayed and prayed a message and dropped them a random message.
You know what I've seen sent in a couple of messages where I say to in like Loom messages that Facebook is just like in real life. Only thing difference is Facebook. I cannot if I don't interest if I don't if you have a cousin that you haven't met up for that person for 5 or 10 years, and you post something on Facebook, that person is not going to respond to you, or that person is not going to call you, nothing. But if I call my cousin or whatever and we speak and we exchange, then that person's going to come back to me as well. And just something like that happened today. A few days ago, I had a person that I haven't spoken to like in 10 or 12, 13 years on Facebook. I just send that person a photo of something that they are related to, and then I saw that person went on my Facebook that 30-second video, and I saw that person watch my 30-second video and responded to my message as well. So yeah, um, that's same thing happens in real life. As I just always say, Facebook is like real life. I have to show interest in you, and you will show interest in me. That's it.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And you'll start to see too, just based on like you can tell what people even prioritize as you follow them more. For example, I just took part in Zeki Ahmed's event a couple of months ago, and prior to him inviting me for that event, we really like we always have known of each other online, some very little small talk conversation back and forth. And this is someone that I don't really view as a prospect going into it, but the reason I want to mention is because he invited me to take part in his event. We got on our first call for the interview, and the first thing I asked him, or the first thing I mentioned to him right away, was just I pretty much just called out the fact of like of my last 2 years on Facebook and all the friends in my friends list. I got to say that your graphics and the graphics that you create for all of your branding are what stands out to me the most. And I just filled him in on how like this is something that I prioritize a lot in my own business, and just let him know that what he does on his end with graphics really impresses me, and I think it's awesome. And it just immediately like broke the ice in the conversation. We felt that much closer more quickly. And you could tell like he also really cares about his quality of branding and his graphics. So for me to know that he cares about that and point that out just because I also care about it too, it says a lot for the like it's just immediately going into relating to one another.
That's true. but I
So
learned this.
asking questions about what that other person cares about is always a powerful thing. And if even if you guys have listened to any interview with Tim Ferriss and like he's brings in all these different guests to do guest interviews, and he always has very specific questions to ask them. But almost always, one of his first questions that he asks usually comes from him pulling out some sort of fun fact from that person that he's interviewing based on a book that he's read of them. Maybe he read in the book that the person wakes up at 4:30 every morning and does this one activity. His question to start the interview may be like asking directly around that thing, knowing that they really care about talking about that thing and how it helps them so much. If Tim can show them that he knows them well enough and that he's researched them and he understands what they talk about and what they prioritize and ask them a question around that, it's really going to stand out to them.
I must have always wondered, how does he sleep, Tim? Just because he reads so much and he knows. Yeah. Anyway, compliments to him. Good. But I've learned the profile reviewing thing is also from 6FA, from the 6FA training, and the interest, and that's also from the 6FA training. So
That
very
it is.
complete.
But yeah, man, hopefully that's helpful insight on this topic as a whole. I think for you right now, we're going to spend more time on our call later this week to talk on copy, verbiage, and things like that. But I'd rather see you not get stuck in the weeds on the fancy stuff. We can always make that better and better and better and more dialed in as you go, but focus more on what's your competitive advantage right now. And to make opportunities happen on this new offer of yours is going to start with having a small list of people that look up to you, know you, like you, and trust you and relate to you.
Yep.
And I know for a fact, in your experience in this industry, just on the people in your network alone, there's people that you could start jiving with and connecting with that live a couple, maybe 20 miles from you. I don't know exactly the vicinity, but that's an even easier way to break the ice. Just saying, hey, I saw you're located in X. So like 20 minutes down the road from me. Asking a question about that. Have you tried this restaurant before? Have you gone out to this place before? Do you like doing this?
That's a good idea. Do that.
And then it can flow into ask them a question about their real estate, what they're doing with that. You mentioning how you were an agent for years and how you left and went into the online marketing world to really dive deep into this and learn this skill. And then it will all come back to how you're now back in the industry to help these folks with marketing. That's what we want.
Cool. Thank you, Blake.
My pleasure. Daisy, I know you were one of the first to join next, so I'll let you take the floor from here. How things going your way?
Things are good my way. Since our last call, I haven't put my plans on the actual electronic thing, but I have my notes in my notebook. So that
Talking on the
planning
goals, right?
strategy, the goals thing. It really was very helpful to me, and also to my partner, because we have this launch going at the moment. We have this her masterclass on like messenger questions to sales. So this week was the launch week. So with you going like in such detail through that, like even day to day, CTAs, like all that kind of stuff was very, very helpful just to map out the way you can successfully go through, the launch and all that. And also just kind of helped me start wrapping my mind around as far as like the rest of the month and the other months after this, just kind of how to start thinking around that. And though I don't think that I'm quite clear on after this launch this week, I have a few ideas, but I think it's easier now just to know how to think about it, like launch, then replenishing, then I know we can still go back if we get some people to the masterclass. We can still go back and create offers around that for small groups, but just in general, it was just very helpful. So I think I'm just implementation mode and testing different ways of getting people to want to know more. So I'm also doing some value videos myself. I have a list of people that have been open to getting one, so I still need to do some. And then yeah, my main focus though right now has been really just trying to get some people to the master class.
Awesome. That's great to hear all of that. With the actually, we'll start with the goals piece. Is there anything on the goals side just today that you wanted me to review on any of the goals that you've laid out or give feedback on those?
I'll kind of go generally over how I'm thinking about it, and then yeah, I would love your feedback, especially because I know that you had some thoughts about my coaching offer, which I was going to put on the shelf, but I want to hear your thoughts on it. And so after this week, which is the launch,
So the launch, just to clarify, was it from like Monday this week through end of the week?
The launch, yeah, so the masterclass is live on Thursday. It's going to happen on Thursday. So we had planned to close down cart midnight before the day before. So today's Tuesday, tomorrow midnight.
Okay.
And then I just have replenish after that. I mean, I have my income goal, but as far as the, just my focus after this week, just continue.
Before we jump to this week, actually, before we jump to next week, I'm sorry. On this week, for the goal of this masterclass itself, what's the target that you're shooting for number of registrants here?
So I wanted to get at least 5 people there for her. I mean, I told her, I don't know that she has a goal as far as how many seats she wanted to fill, but my goal to help was at least 5.
Okay. We're in terms of where we're at with that now, where is that currently sitting?
So we don't have anybody that's jumping yet.
Okay. So just to kind
Okay.
of fill in some gaps here, for this being live Thursday, has this, like, let's say you guys were talking about it earlier this week, has this already been announced that end date to join is Thursday?
As of yesterday, yes. For me, as of yesterday. For her, as of last Saturday, I think, or Sunday.
Okay. I'll let you continue from there. Then I'll share thoughts from that point. And I interrupted you before that, so feel free to pick up from there. So end Thursday, registrants aren't quite there yet. She mentioned it last week. You mentioned it this week. That's closing down Thursday. And I think you were saying one more thing, either like something that's coming after this or something along those lines.
Yeah, just after I just have like the focus of replenishing my audience. Overall, I think I'm really just trying to get, along with the consistency that I've been getting better at with just regular activities like combos, making offers, all that stuff. I'm trying to just really find the way I'm operating the best, I guess, to make some offers and make some sales. When it comes to how much value to give versus when to kind of fill them out and see if they're ready for an offer, go that route versus like making value videos and doing CTAs there or sending straight messages. Like I'm testing out what's going to work best for me. And the other thing is like I'm testing also because I'm not quite sure. Like before, I wouldn't even think twice about just sending out an offer that's for a low ticket offer, like a Google Doc. I wouldn't think twice about just sending it out. Where now I'm kind of making sure that I've had a good conversation with them, making sure I'm asking questions to make sure that they'd even be interested in it. I mean, before it was like, okay, if this is a Messenger masterclass, every affiliate marketer is in Messenger. Like I'm just gonna go for it, right? But now I'm thinking differently.
Be a little more strategic with it.
Yeah, so I need to just continue making offers. Like from yesterday and today, I've sent it out 5 times. So I know I just need to send it out. But those people have wanted to see it. So, it's a little different thinking behind it. So I'm trying to find my rhythm there.
Yeah, and I think especially like knowing that it's final 48 hours until launch, like I would be working to be as proactive as possible and getting in front of people in Messenger in these final 48 hours. And like you mentioned before, like I don't think you could take the approach of just taking everybody in your inbox and just dropping them the link to the document of the masterclass saying, hey, this is going down Thursday. If you want to jump in, grab your spot. But the more that you can purposely re-engage with people and wrap the challenge that they either mentioned before or a call that you had with them 2 months ago to this masterclass being a solution to them, the more it's going to stand out to them. So my question would be for this class, number one, what's the topic around? What's the topic of the masterclass?
Yeah, the topic is around like knowing what questions to ask to move from friend zone to business and then, to the close. So mainly not really focused on the rapport building, but transitioning to close. Transitioning to business and then to the close. So the questions around that. So it's all about understanding the purpose behind the questions you ask and giving a lot of different question types and stuff like that they can ask. They'll get a cheat sheet and stuff like that. So just to become a little more aware of when.
So if we look at this in like a problem standpoint, it'd almost be like not basically people that are not knowing or don't know what questions to ask transition the conversation to sales opportunity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, if this is the problem that they're facing, what are some side effects of this problem that they may be expressing to you in calls, conversations in general that may have been uncovered before? If we think of it this way, everybody here can even chime in and drop in the chat what they think. If we don't know what questions to ask to transition the conversation to a sales opportunity, what in our mind might we think is the problem? Because more than often, they may not perceive it just as this. They may see other things happening in Messenger. This caused them to think, man, my Messenger isn't working, or I'm just getting to a dead-end conversations. What may be some side effects of this?
Maybe they think they have the wrong people. They're talking to the wrong people.
Yep. Talking to the wrong people. Related to that would be adding the wrong friends.
Yes.
Focusing on the wrong groups.
And then, depending on how they feel about themselves, if they have a lot of confidence in themselves or not, maybe they might be thinking, I'm not good with Messenger. Like I'm not a social person or whatever,
Yep.
Amir says fear of asking for the sale.
It's a good one, Amir. Now I'm going to ask you this as a follow-up. Do you believe, and you guys can answer this in your own opinion too from your experience, do you believe that they perceive what they're dealing with as fear of asking for the sale, like tell themselves, I'm afraid to ask for the sale? Or this is more so something that we know that they are maybe possessing? If that makes sense. Like, do they see that as the problem or do they not see that? Because with all these problem conversations we're talking on here, everybody perceives it differently. What Daisy sees as the expert is somebody that knows this and she knows what's causing it and why it's taking place could be completely different for the person that is experiencing it. They might think, like we talked on here, they're talking to the wrong people or adding friends to the wrong groups. But these are all beliefs of theirs that they think is causing this. This is a belief. This is a belief. Another belief could be maybe it's I'm not afraid to get rejected, but it's like if I do ask, I'll get rejected. I'll likely get rejected if I get asked.
Yeah, I know. Even for me, when I was going through that a lot, I would be thinking, like if I ask this question, if I ask them to look at my offer, or if I ask for a call or something, then I pretty much expected that I was gonna get that lead for good. So it was like that, you know, if I took that step, I wasted that person. In my mind, that's how I was thinking.
Yep. Wasting the lead. This is good. So these are all beliefs in their mind that they could be believing. Now, there's a little bit of a difference between side effects and beliefs. What I meant by side effects would essentially be, I'll even just put this here. Beliefs. So maybe in their mind, they feel like, you know what, I somewhat know how to handle conversations in Messenger, but I just keep getting reverse pitched every time. This could be a side effect, getting reverse pitched. Another side effect could be dealing with objections. Objections over and over again.
Or getting ghosted.
Yep. Getting ghosted would be another one. So these are the things that start to happen to them, where either they're getting reverse pitched to Messenger, dealing with the same objections, people aren't replying, ghosting them. And it's usually once they see one of these and pick this and say, okay, every single conversation I have, I'm getting reverse pitched. If they ask themselves why that is, they may say it's because I'm talking to the wrong people. And that's their belief as to why this side effect is happening.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
But either way, we know now a large list of like buckets that we can put people into that we know that maybe from our previous conversations, these came up and we know this person was dealing with us. I can think of someone off the top of my head now that still thinks to this day that the reason they're not making sales is because they don't know how to handle objections perfectly in Messenger. But I also know that they don't really see the real problem that's causing it.
Yeah. So these side effects, that's what they're dealing with. So at one point they might have told us something about this happening, and then we go back and we ask them why, and then they tell us it's because of these beliefs they have.
And it may not be that much of a straight line. I think they could either mention one of these things, they think this is causing it, or they mention that they're experiencing this. What I'm saying is we can take anybody that fit into these buckets, that fell into these pains, beliefs, or side effects, and use this as a way to re-engage with them to present the offer in these final 24 hours. We can just simply say, hey, name, I know a month back when we hopped in a call, or when we spoke in a call, you mentioned that you were experiencing X. So we're reminding them what they mentioned to us before. And we could either take one approach here. We could either go right into offer. This week, I'm hosting a masterclass that's specifically focused on helping folks that are dealing with this pain right now. We're going to be taking 10 people behind the scenes to show them how to handle the conversation and how to avoid having this happen to them. Is that something that you'd be interested in? So it's a really relevant follow-up. That's pulling in exactly what they mentioned to us they were struggling with before, us showing them that we still kept that top of mind and seeing if they're open to the solution. A more subtle first step to it could be there's basically two approaches. That one that's like relating and then direct offer, or relating and then an ask, like, are you still dealing with this thing? I know a month back we spoke in a call, you mentioned that you were dealing with constant objections in Messenger and having difficulty transitioning your conversations. Just wanted to see if that's something that you're still dealing with now. Could even leave some curiosity. If so, I may have something that will be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So think about, I would take today, these final 48, and make a list of anybody that you feel on your pipeline, friends list now, your messenger, that would genuinely benefit from this workshop based on what you've uncovered from your conversations with them before. Re-engage with that pain, that number one pain that they expressed that they were dealing with that was stopping them or holding them back. And then wrap that pain around this opportunity being something that could help them with that. See if they're open to checking out the details.
Yes, I will do that. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Blake, I do have one more question. I've written down something I may not ask right now. But I think one is kind of relevant, if you don't mind.
Fire away.
I just want to hear your perspective on how to determine if a lead, well, that maybe they're not quite a lead yet, if a new friend who is kind of becoming a lead, like maybe they agreed to join your group and stuff like that, but they haven't really expressed other interests. It's just been more proactive on my part, right, to get them in. How do you determine whether they are a good person, a good lead to nurture versus because for instance, I have some people that aren't directly in affiliate marketing, but I see some things that I can help with, like what Grove was talking about, like with profile and stuff like that, things that, I see they're marketing or trying to market something. And those are a little bit questionable to me, whether it's worth it to go through all the regular proactive nurturing when they're kind of out of my normal scope of things that I do.
So the first place I would begin, even alone, like you mentioned, let's say it's a new friend and it's becoming a new lead, they join the group, join Facebook community. So I would deem whenever anybody joins the group as a potential lead right away, right there alone, new potential lead. One nice thing about one first step and getting them to go from being a new friend to joining the group is now you're automatically also gathering some more insight from their membership questions on their business. So with the questions you have in place now, I would be looking at those as some rule of thumb to basically decide, like, number one, is this person in the bucket of someone who I serve? And we want to kind of have that list in mind of like, who is the group of people that we serve itself? So is it just beginner affiliate marketers, or is it established affiliate marketers, or is it consultants? But using that as a guide to know can help you immediately from there decide, is this person worth putting my energy into based on what they shared in the questions of what they're doing with their business now and what challenges they're facing. I think consider as well, like, even if let's say you just focus on serving affiliate marketers and this person's a coach, but they're dealing with a problem that many of your affiliate clients deal with, which is not knowing how to handle messenger conversations. Don't be afraid to cross apply your training to still helping them, even if it's not directly for coaches. Like, I think at the core, what you teach with that can still be cross applied.
Okay.
For example, in this program directly, Taylor, who joined this program 3 months ago, came in launching a new agency-based SEO offer. Now, 6FA isn't known to serve agencies or to serve offers in that way, but I knew how much I could help him, and I still extended him the invitation to join us in the program, apply our training, and helped him customize that around his business. And as a result, he's already gotten 3 clients into his program, and he's doing well with it. And it's something where I could have said, you know what, this guy's an agency owner, let's just push him aside. But at the end of the day, the problems that he was facing, I knew that is something that I could help solve with this program. So that's why I offered it to him.
Okay. Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we're on the topic of groups here before we move from there. For folks joining your community now, Daisy, with the questions, are you using those answers to kind of flow into conversation directly from the group join?
You know what? I'm not in the practice of doing that yet. I have I have really good leads, I guess, when you think about it like that. I do have some people, including the guy that had in mind when I was asking you the question. They answer the questions, and majority of them do say that they have trouble finding leads. Like that's the biggest thing that comes up. And so, but I'm not in the practice of I thinking that that is like they're ready to have the conversation on it. I think I have a limiting belief around it that I don't believe it. I don't believe that when they mark an answer there that they're actually ready for that type of conversation. It's just, I guess, like a false and limiting belief, like Tommy would say. Um, I need to change that, and I start looking at that as a place to really just have easier conversations because they've already said that they have a problem.
100%. I really like to see you kind of work to go against that mindset of it and just start practicing getting into motion with using those questions to lead into some conversation. Because at the end of the day, I think it's important to remember that the people that are joining your community, putting in their email, putting in their information and joining the group, they look up to you in some way if they're willing to give you that information and do that. So without you even having to go in and ask them like, what's your challenge or what's your goal, what's your problem? Like the nice thing about this group is that like it's feeding you this information without even having to come and ask that question. So you as the group leader here, someone that they look up to, can see that answer and then come into Messenger afterwards and welcome them. Give them an introduction to the group. Maybe let them know one place to begin to start, and then immediately from there, after one goodwill message, flow into a question around what they answered in their membership questions. So it could be, I know you mentioned in the group questions that right now leads is the biggest challenge in your business. Emma, do you mind sharing with me a little more insight on what your current process is to generate leads? So to me, there's a big difference in this message versus you reaching out saying, hey, I saw you're struggling to generate leads in Messenger. You should buy this thing now, or you definitely need this, which a lot of people will do. But I think by us being the leader, pointing out that, hey, we did see this, but we want to understand you more, that really stands out to them. And now they're already starting to feel more open to opening up and talking on that.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a great idea. I'll look at the people that I have. I had been focused on sending them to the trainings that they had raised their hand for to get into the group or to get the training. I had been focused on sending them, tagging them on the training, and just kind of like I also need to get in the practice of going back after those trainings, and I guess like get into this what you're saying, going back to the questions they answered when they got in there.
Yep. And then this can also lead to either taking a smaller step where let's say they share and they say, yeah, so my current process is this. You can ask them another question related to like what that process is, what they're seeing in the process, like how it's showing up to them as things aren't working well. Continue to get some more insight from you, but you can also use that further insight to just point them to either you choose. If you feel like they're really trusting to you, opening up, open to your suggestions, you could offer them a call right very quickly off this conversation. If you don't feel that yet, you could take one small step further and just lead with a valuable training in your group related to that topic.
Okay. When you offer, that's a good point because I was going to ask you about this and I forgot. When you're offering the 15-minute call, when you say I have some ideas, would you be willing to hop on a call today or tomorrow? In my mind, that is not like a sales call, right? It's not a sales call, but
correct.
On the call, like immediately, like I know, set up the structure, what so they know what to expect, all that kind of stuff, and then go through your questions. But I'm also wondering, like, at what point do you stop the questions and give them value, like actually give them insights on what you saw on the profile, or this thing that you said you had ideas about? Like, at what point would you give those insights?
I would say feel free to do it at any point. I think when you're asking questions, like if you feel like that answer to that question aligns with like what maybe a piece of value that you could give them at that point in time, like share that value with them and then ask them another question.
Okay, so just through the questions, like in between the questions.
Exactly. So like let's say they're mentioning how, let's see here. They're mentioning how a lot of their conversations are coming to a dead end and they're struggling to generate leads consistently. So you relate back to them, they share that with you. You could then step in and say, that's really good to know. I know for me personally, when I was getting started, I was dealing with the same thing. When I was just getting started, I always thought it was because I didn't know how to handle the conversation. But what I started to realize as I grew was that a big piece of my lead quality came from the content I was putting out. Are you currently putting out content in your business now? Or how often are you posting in your business now? So notice how I'm still injecting some belief shifts and value to them that they would never have known before I mentioned that. That's now making them think differently about how they're generating leads and how content could help with that. But I'm still using that to flow into another relevant question.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense. With me, like I was wondering, because when I say let's jump on a call, I have you or feedback for you, if they're open and they say yes. Like in my mind, I was thinking they're going to come to the call because they're expecting insights. So, but I guess it takes care of it if you just say like a blanket statement on the call to, the way this call normally works is, I like to ask you some questions, make sure that I understand everything about you so that I can give you very useful and relevant information so I don't waste your time, right? Something like that will cover why you need to ask questions rather than just giving them the feedback you said you were going to give them. Does that make
100%. It's much like this here, where like I mentioned before, that person could have mentioned to me that they're struggling with leads, and I could have went right into trying to sell them on a masterclass or an offer. But at first, I took the time to pause and ask them a question around this first to understand them more. It's no different than if you were to go into a doctor, or let's say you're at a doctor's office. The doctor asks you to go take you back into the room to figure out what's been going on with the side effects that you expressed. He's never going to go right into offering you valuable suggestions to improve your health before very clearly understanding where things are going off at. So he's always going to start by asking those questions first, letting the patient know, hey, before we get into things here, I first want to just get an understanding of what you're experiencing, what you're feeling now, and then we can get to the bottom of what's causing this.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that was something I had a question around, the expectations when they come to the call, but yeah, it makes sense.
I think it's very easy for us to feel like as we're asking questions, like it's almost, how would I put it in words? Like people are going to get impatient with us, or they feel like they came to the call for value and we're just asking questions. But I think you guys would be surprised at how much people, and you guys may even realize this yourself, how much you appreciate when people are asking you questions to understand you. And I think at least what upsets me, I know it upsets many people too, is when I start getting suggestions told to me from someone that doesn't understand me. Because to me, it just feels like they either have an ulterior motive in mind of trying to take me to where they want me to go, or they just think that's the way it is. But to me, if they first took the time to understand me to begin with, then I would be much more open to their suggestions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, I would be too.
So I think consider that when you're on the call in terms of not being afraid to ask those questions, or even letting them know, like, hey, before we even talk on tips and value, I really want to make sure that I clearly understand where you're at right now, where you're looking to take things and what's going on, so I can offer you the best insight possible.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
No problem. Vix, Kyle, Amir, and anything I can support you guys with today?
Yeah, actually, I have changed the way I'm putting my content out. I'm putting like concentrating on the PTC actually again, but I'm going only on the lead gen actually, on one thing only, like giving values and putting soft CTA every week. Is that a good process or
Could you repeat the second part one more time? Giving value and putting call to actions every week, you said?
no? Yeah, I'm putting content like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like only value post content, and on Friday I'm putting a soft CTA on the post.
You say a subsidy?
All is about only lead generation.
So I heard the first part on value, but when the second part you said you're putting a what in the post? A subsidy, did you say?
A soft CTA.
Oh, soft CTA. I'm sorry, I heard you incorrectly. Yep. Okay. So value post to begin, then you're incorporating the soft CTA post. Then what was the last one you mentioned?
Yeah. But it's only on lead generation, actually. I'm not talking about messenger, I'm not content, I'm not talking about anything else. I'm just putting on content around lead generation.
Okay. What's your question related to that?
Is that process okay, or we should like mix up like Monday lead generation or then messenger?
Well, I would consider thinking about like what's the process for the target market to generate leads. Like if we know, let's say for example, Post to Close teaches how to leverage content and leverage Messenger to create opportunities, book calls, or present offers and make sales opportunities happen. And you know that many people in your audience are dealing with challenges in Messenger or challenges with lead generation. I would rather see you talk more specifically on what's causing those challenges than just more vaguely about just lead generation. If that makes sense. Because just like we mentioned with Daisy's example earlier, if her masterclass is on asking the right questions in Messenger, she wouldn't just be talking about like booking leads or booking calls in Messenger. She's going to be talking more into like what pains are they experiencing Messenger? How are they perceiving those pains? What do they believe is going wrong in the Messenger conversation? One thing, like a big thing that I talk on a lot in any PTC campaign that we do is a lot back to the pilot framework I created with that and the conversation signals I created in that program. So the reason I created those signals is because I knew a big pain for people that were working to generate leads in Messenger was not knowing when was the right time to know it's good for me to offer the call or it's good for me to present the offer. So in Post to Close, I clarified 3 key signals to look for in all your conversations to know exactly when to ask for that opportunity or when to ask for the sale or when to ask for the call. So by you writing a post talking about how maybe early on in Messenger, you had no clue on when the right time was to ask the question. And it felt like every time you did go to offer a call, the person either ghosted you, did something else, or objected or said, no, I'm not interested. And it wasn't until you realized that you were asking it at the wrong time that things started to shift. And once you knew when the right time was to ask it, that's when more people were saying yes. This is now where folks in your market are going to become curious. They're gonna want to know how to know when to ask as well, because they're probably dealing with a similar thing.
Because I was thinking of concentrating on only one problem at a time, like the lead generation.
Correct. Yep. But to generate leads organically with what we teach in Post to Close, what does that involve?
Yeah.
That involves content and involves conversations. Yeah. So those are two critical components to make the lead generation happen. Since there's so many ways, like there's a never-ending list of ways to generate leads. It could be cold email outreach. It could be cold DM outreach. It could be Facebook lead ads. There's a bunch of SEO, website forms, a bunch of things that we can do. And this is where, if you're just talking general lead generation, it's not going to really resonate as specifically or deeply with your audience as if you were talking about organic lead generation using Facebook and content or using Messenger and content.
Okay.
What needs to be thought about is like, is the people in my friends list that I'm going after for Post to Close, are they active Facebook organic marketers? Are they using Facebook Messenger now? Are they using content now to work to generate leads? If they're doing those two things, they're not getting the results they want, this leaves us the opportunity to speak just towards those buckets. What's going wrong in Messenger, how they could improve their content, how they can use the two together, all these things, because we know that they're in that world. If it was somebody like, let's say your market was people running ads right now and not getting results with leads, the post would be a lot different because you'd more so be talking about going from Facebook ads to organic lead generation and how to get started with that and the benefits of that. To me, you're more so speaking for the people that are already sold on Facebook organic, but not seeing the results they want. And you're trying to help
Yeah.
show them how the problems they're facing can be resolved through post to close. Would you agree?
So we should have a mix-up then.
Sorry, would you say that at the end?
We should have a mix-up of content like lead generation and messenger problem and content problem as well.
Yeah. If that covers the bucket of basically how you help people in that offer that you're selling, I would 100% encourage that.
Okay. Now when you add the soft CTA, when people raise their hand, so you have any free training to give them? Can
What-
we go direct on the sales page, or how should we proceed out from here?
You said you put in a soft CTA and people raise their hand for interest, and you said what training should we give them?
Yeah.
It depends on a lot of factors. Like, is the post that you're mentioning, was it giving away a free training?
On one post, I'll mention free training, but on one post, I did not mention free training. I just post a soft CTA, and one person raised their hand. When I send after the question we have up, when I send him, he did not go forward on that.
He didn't go for the purchase, you're saying.
Mm-hmm.